versus other articles. Am I right that the algorithm is the speech here?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're right.
I would say it's
the algorithm is the speech. Thank you.
The algorithm has built within it.
That's good for us.
It's basically how we predict what our customers want to see.
That was Justice Barrett.
Yeah, the editorial discretion. It also has built within it the moderation elements. All of this kind of comes together when the source code is translated into executable code in the United States.
She asked that question for the benefit of her other justices.
Vetting, review, moderation through content moderation algorithms, and that so it ultimately lands on the TikTok platform.
But what we're talking about as a net choice is the editorial discretion that underlies the algorithm. And I just want to be clear.
She's talking about Moody v. Net Choice. I did a whole video on it if y'all want to watch it after.
The right of an American citizen to repeat what a foreign entity says, or say, you know, I'm hitching my wagon to China, I want to say everything China does. Here,
yes.
the concern is about the covert content manipulation piece of the algorithm.
Bringing it home right now.
That is something that ByteDance wants to speak, right?
Well, Your Honor, I think that ultimately it's TikTok's choice whether to put it on the platform.
And you don't want that. Is your client disclaiming
we absolutely resist any kind of content manipulation by China at all. But what I do want to focus in on is
it's hard for me to think of situations, maybe they exist, where our classification based on speaker is not viewpoint or content-based restrictions. I mean, that somebody says, Joe can't talk anymore. We're going to shut Joe up. And we don't know what he's going to say.
It needs to be a majority vote.
2 weeks from now, we don't know what he's going to discuss, but whatever he says,
they don't have to make a unanimous
decision. Because Joe is a bad person. I mean,
this is Alito.
That's viewpoint and content-based, isn't it?
I think when it comes to a foreign adversary, it's not right to view it that way. And the reason for that, again, is this is a sophisticated adversary nation, and we can't just simplistically say, oh, with the PRC
they don't vote today.
To see more pro-China
and they don't vote in public.
As
we just
Chief
will
Judge
get
Lawson
a written
observed,
opinion
there are
issued at some
ways
point.
that the PRC could try to create some kind of false flag operation and actually promote anti-China content, not to dictate how Americans should think about things, but simply to create some trumped-up justification for a military or economic action that the foreign adversary wants to take against us. And I don't think a concern with trying to ward off that capability.
Viewpoint or content still. We don't know what the content's going to be, but we know it, Joe is bad.
Because I think the better classification is to recognize that what we're trying to prevent is not the specific subject matter, the specific viewpoints, but the technical capability of a foreign adversary nation to use a communications channel against this.
The difference between covert and non-covert.
So I think that Congress's concern with the covert operation was that a foreign adversary could effectively weaponize this platform behind the scenes in order to achieve any number of geopolitical goals. Here are some of the examples that come to mind. One of the pages out of the playbook here is for a foreign adversary to simply try to get Americans arguing with one another to create chaos and distraction in order to weaken the United States as a general matter and distract from any activities that the foreign adversary might want to conduct.
That is a content-based regulation.
Covert, though. I mean, does covert just mean it's hard to figure out how the algorithm works? Because we could say that about every algorithm.
No, the covert nature of it comes
See, they're
from the
going to
fact
grill
that
everybody.
it's not apparent that the
PRC
is the one behind the scenes pulling the strings here and deciding exactly what content is going to be made to appear on the site. And another way that
it's just because we don't know that China's behind it. That's what covert means.
Well, I think
it doesn't have anything to do with the difficulty of figuring out what the algorithm is doing. It's just because people don't know that China is pulling the strings. That's what covert means?
What it means is that Americans are on this platform thinking that they are speaking to one another, and this recommendation engine that is apparently so valuable is organically directing their speech to each other. And what is covert is that the PRC, a foreign adversary nation, is instead exploiting a vulnerability in the system.
Well, if that's all it means, that like people don't know that China's behind it, like everybody now knows that China is behind it.
No, but it's the specific content that's being manipulated.
She really just said now everybody knows that China's behind it.
Search engine. I mean, you can take any of these algorithms, whether it's X or whether it's you name it. What are the new ones? Blue Sky. I mean, none of these are apparent, right? You get what you get, and you think that's puzzling, and and it's all a little bit of a black box. So you can't just mean it's a black box, it's covert. They're all black boxes. And if you just mean what's covert is the fact that there's China behind it, I mean, honestly, really, like everybody does know now that there's China behind it. So I just don't get what this covert word does for you.
I think the problem with just saying, as a general matter, China has this capability and might
That's
at some
Kagan.
point be able to exercise it and manipulate the platform is it doesn't.
I was trying to think of whether there's a historical analog here, and this is what I came up with,
Kagan.
and you can tell me whether it's fallacious. You know, in the mid-20th century, we were very concerned about the Soviet Union and what the Soviet Union was doing in this country. And the Communist Party of the United States at that time was integrally attached to the Communist International, which was essentially a Soviet operation, right? So if Congress had said, oh, it's very nice, we can have the Communist Party USA, but
Elena
it has to
Kagan.
divest, it has to completely divorce itself from the Comintern and from any international ties that it has, do you think that that would have been absolutely fine? And
a
so if
great
the answer is
question.
yes, it would have been fine, it's just like this case, or if the answer is no, why is it not like this case?
So I guess I think I would need to know more information about how the international organization is able to exercise control over the American affiliate. And if it had the capacity, for example, to, in an unqualified fashion, gather data from that affiliate in a way that was going to jeopardize our nation's security.
Well,
or-
I'm talking more
Yeah.
about sort of the content. Let's put the
Yeah.
data collection piece of this aside, which seems not very pertinent to my 1950s analog. But very concerned about the kind of speech that the Communist Party was making in the United States, and it turns out that that content was pretty well scripted someplace else.
I think if it was specifically a concern about the content, then that would trigger heightened scrutiny under the First Amendment. We're not
That's a big
trying to go
concession.
away from that principle
It's a
here.
big concession
Instead,
from the
we're
government.
making, I think, a narrower argument.
Well, then I think that you're a little bit, I think you've just given your thing away, because
See?
content manipulation is a content-based rationale. We think that this foreign government is going to manipulate content in a way that will, that concerns us and may very well affect our national security interests. Well, that's exactly what they thought about Communist Party speech in the 1950s, which was being scripted in large part by international organizations or directly by the Soviet Union.